Apply, not available in all states. See cvs.com/RX rewards or the pharmacy for details. 8:33, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher believes the Capitol riot will have a lasting impact.
They have damaged this country badly in ways that will take a long time to undo. There is no defense, no excuse, and now the 45th president of the United States is going to face an impeachment charge that he incited them.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're an AM 560 listener, one thing I'm certain of is that you're not tuning in to listen to me. So I'm sorry about the next 47 seconds. But we have specifically chose this station because we think we're similar, and we'd love for you to see 3 reasons why our mortgage team might be a good fit for you or someone you care about. 1, we've got a direct lender advantage. Our mortgage team is an arm of a bigger company who is a direct lender. There's no middleman, which means our company gets to use its own money and make its own decisions within its own walls, an advantage that often allows us to get you a better rate, saving you monthly and lifelong money. 2, we pay AM 560 listener appraisal fees up to $500, and that's upfront money that you don't have to pay back if by some chance you end up not closing. And finally, our faith is a big deal to us, and we're open about that. If we seem like a fit for you, we'd love to talk. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Mortgage Corp, Melbourne, New York. NMLS number 1330. Ryan Vrecka, NMLS number 65233. For all licensing information, go to nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
Trees provide us with many benefits: clean air, energy cost savings, and improved aesthetics, just to name a few. However, if trees are not managed properly, they can wind up costing us more than the benefits provide. The mission of Graf Tree Care is to maximize the benefits of your trees while helping minimize costs, risk, and liability. Graf Tree Care is the leader in urban forest management, tree inventory, and tree risk management. Working with over 30 municipalities, 50 park districts, and hundreds of homeowners associations, Graf Tree Care uses a tech-based platform to keep track of your trees in real time. They use the system to map, monitor, and plan for your tree population. Graf Tree Care will maximize the benefits and minimize the costs and risks of your trees in Illinois or Indiana. Go to graftreecare.com and schedule a free consultation and review of your current tree management plan. Learn about safety and savings for your municipality, park district, or HOA. Go to graftreecare.com and schedule a free consultation. graftreecare.com.
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual Insurance Company. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Inbound Kennedy traffic still very heavy from O'Hare to Lawrence. A rollover crash cleared, but the travel time is still about an hour from O'Hare to downtown. Outbound, the trip time downtown to O'Hare is 23 minutes. Looking at the inbound Eisenhower, it's heavy. Wolf Western, the trip time is 48 minutes, 390 to downtown. Outbound 29 to Stevenson. Clocks in at 36 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan 17 minutes from 95th. The other big trouble spot is I-80 eastbound. Still jammed Center Street to US 30 for cleanup after an overturned semi. Traffic can get to eastbound I-80 from the 30 entrance ramp. Still a big backup. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our AM 560 Weather Center. Afternoon snow up to an inch or more. High of 18. And by the way, central Illinois this morning, Champaign, for instance, almost 2.5 inches of snow in spots. We'll have a very cold evening ahead of us and a bit of snow, a low 9 above. Currently 3 above. Next news coming up at 9. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. If If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. Welcome back to the show. Remember how we documented on this program David Beasley at the UN World Food Program and David Nabarro, special envoy, UN special envoy on COVID, said don't lock down. Don't lock down as the first resort in the West, because what you're doing is disrupting supply chains for food and other basic necessities of life, medicine in the developing world, including medicines for ailments other than COVID, which afflict the developing world in a way they don't the first world. Remember how they said that? I guess this is what they were talking about. A recent study that was done by the American Association for the Advancement of Science in conjunction with a team of researchers. They looked at Africa, Asia, South America, assembled evidence from more than 30,000 respondents in 9 countries in Africa: Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, etc. Asia, Bangladesh, Nepal, Philippines, Latin America, Colombia. The data paint a consistent picture: the economic shock and attendant disruptions to livelihoods during the early stages of the pandemic to be large across a range of populations in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. For example, by April, many households were already unable to meet basic nutritional needs. For example, 48% of rural Kenyan households, 69% of landless agricultural households in Bangladesh, 87% of rural households in Sierra Leone were forced to miss meals or reduce portion sizes to cope with crisis. Comparing to pre-existing baseline data verifies that these levels greatly exceed the food insecurity normally experienced in those countries at that time of year. And so now what you've seen, ultimately, top line here is that you have not only exacerbated these problems in the developing world, you've reversed years of work to combat poverty and hunger in particular. And remember, as I understand from the internationalists, we are all citizens of the world. If you can save one life, I thought is the standard. It wasn't one American life, was it? So some political accountability may be in the offing, but it's not quite what you think. One suggestion made from an editor of the British Medical Journal calls for some political accountability, but he's not calling for a recall of Gavin Newsom, no. He's calling for certain heads of state to be whisked off and tried before the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Wesley Smith, author and senior fellow at the Discovery Institute Center on Human Exceptionalism. Wesley, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning and hello to Chicago.
Well, who should be brought before The Hague and tried for crimes against humanity, Wesley?
Well, he doesn't quite go out and say it, but what he really wants is Donald Trump to be tried for social murder. Because Trump did not follow the experts, and he also includes others in his diatribe. But do you know who he basically doesn't include, and who basically has just one minor mention in the entire piece? China, the very country that caused this whole catastrophe in the first place, the very country that lied about the COVID, the very country that jailed doctors who tried to whistleblow that a catastrophe was on its way, the very country that just finally let the WHO, which of course he supports, back into the country. And I think they said something about, well, maybe it wasn't in Wuhan, maybe it was frozen food that caused this thing. Like we're supposed to believe the WHO. But what the head of the British Medical Journal wants is for leaders who do not listen to the experts on these pandemics to be put into jail, which is just an incredible thing when you think about it.
Right. He talks about the countries that failed in response to the virus and the need to act urgently and collaboratively in these areas of appropriate response, particularly where, to his mind, appropriate responses weren't made, will allow the world to be best prepared for any future pandemic. So, all of this is couched in terms of accountability and being forward looking. But what it really is, you suggest, is the pathway for global institutions, world government or quasi-governmental institutions to aggrandize their power in this time, just as you see that happening with governments around the world. Right,
and basically what we see happening out of this pandemic is an attempt to establish what is sometimes called a technocracy, that is ruled by experts. And the thing that would make this so alarming is not just that the technocracy might be established, but that it would be enforced. The muscle men would be the corporatocracy, big tech. So that just, for example, when you mentioned at the beginning of the show, some people who are heterodox thinkers on the pandemic, if they tried to, as they actually did, talk against lockdowns in terms of the proper response to COVID, they couldn't get on YouTube. Twitter would take down their posts and so forth. So you have this idea that only certain experts have the right and have the capacity to tell us what is the right thing to do, and that anyone else who might bring up a heterodox view or a different view must be shut down. But you see, that's not science. Science is a method for determining facts, and it has to, and scientific perspectives have to always be challenged. Otherwise, it just becomes ideology.
You quote Saint Tony Fauci here in your piece, and I want you to break down the statement he made. It's a rather remarkable one.
It's really quite remarkable. Now, he wrote this piece in Cell, which is a learned journal. It generally deals with, scientific studies on stem cells or various other forms of medical research. But he wrote a piece back in June or July in which he in which he said, quote, "We need to rebuild the infrastructures of human existence because we're going to be entering an era of pandemics." In other words, we have to remake the entire society, the entire makeup of human society. He writes about reducing crowding at home, work, and in public places. He writes about minimizing environmental perturbations such as deforestation, intense urbanization, and intensive animal farming. He wants to make it so that the technocrats basically, can you imagine the bureaucracy that would be required to remake the entire infrastructure of human existence?
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the hubris it takes for a public health professional like Tony Fauci to make such sweeping statements about remaking the world in his image.
We have to, he says, equally important are ending global poverty, improving sanitation and hygiene, and reducing the unsafe exposure to animals so that humans and potential human pathogens have limited opportunities for contact. Oh, is that all? I mean, end world poverty. And yet, as you introduced our segment, you showed and demonstrated how the scientists have found that the very actions that Anthony Fauci supported increased human poverty.
Well, also too, frankly, I think he thinks he sounds intelligent, but he sounds like a Miss Universe contestant, right? I want to end global poverty. I want to end disease and sickness. I mean, it's absurd. And here's the thing about this too. This is what the left does. They make these sweeping statements about this utopia they're going to create. And who could be against ending disease, Wesley? Who could be against ending global poverty? And so we don't have to worry about the details because, as you say, we're the technocracy, we're the experts, we're in charge. You just do what we say. No masks yesterday, 1 mask today, 2 masks tomorrow. You just do what we say. We got this.
Right. And by the way, there's going to be a handoff if once the pandemic begins to abate, to using these same tactics to fight global warming. And so you see the Davos crowd are already preparing for that. They call it the Great Reset, in which they claim they're going to remake capitalism in order to, let me read this to you. This is the head of the World Economic Forum. He calls it the Great Reset Initiative, and they're going to remake every industry from oil and gas to tech, and they're going to transform the entire system of the world's economy. Again, the idea is technocracy, and then the technocracy.
And sorry to interrupt, but also too, just for those people not familiar, we've talked about it, but this Klaus Schwab guy who created this World Economic Forum at Davos. I mean, Conrad Black, who knows him well, we spoke with on the show about him, and it's like, I give him credit for putting together this annual cocktail party, but that's really what it is, to get to cede, global control of your lives to this group of people who meet once a year in Davos is just asinine. It's beyond asinine. It's incredible that they get the sort of attention they do, the uncritical attention that they get.
Well, the uncritical attention is the key there, because we need to pay attention to them. Otherwise, all of this stuff will be imposed from on high. What I do in my work is I look at the medical journals, the legal journals, the bioethics journals, and so forth, because the popular media doesn't cover what the, quote, leaders of society have planned for us. And I think we need to know ahead of time. If you took these ideas and brought them to Main Street and engaged in proper democratic deliberation, they wouldn't go anywhere. But if you have the idea that the experts get to decide and then the government leaders and the corporations just march in lockstep, well, this could happen. So what we need is to expose these ideas and prevent them from actually germinating. Otherwise, we could be in big trouble.
And you would think that there are lessons to learn from the response, many lessons to learn, and also including with respect to the vaccinations, the implementation of the vaccination programs, just how much of a cluster it has become in so many places, because it is all driven by identity politics rather than anything resembling, a basis in science.
And what's really stunning is the lack of ability to gain wisdom, the lack of common sense. I mean, these people have such big brains that they couldn't organize, the proverbial two-car funeral, right? It's just incredible. And then you look at what happened in New York with vaccinations, where vaccines were being tossed out because of the rigid bureaucratization of the dispensing of these vaccines, so that if the right people weren't there, the vaccine was thrown out. But in Israel, when they had 10 extra vials of vaccine, they went out on the streets, hey, come on in and get the vaccine. That's called common sense. And you have people being able to be vaccinated who might have had to wait. I was just reading a story about a doctor recently here in the country who did that very kind of thing, and he got fired for it. So rather than throw away good vaccine, he went out and he got people who were not in the proper spot in the queue, and they fired him for actually doing the right thing.
This is like machine politics comes to vaccination. So if you're a constituent in good standing, you get a garbage can. Well, if you're a constituent in good standing or you have the right identity characteristics, then you get the vaccine. And if you're not, then back of the line to you. Then you're nobody to me. So it's almost
meanwhile the Party of Science at UC Berkeley, for students who are living in the dorm, has banned all outside solitary activity as a means of fighting COVID. You can't go out and do jumping jacks by yourself on the football field.
But then the flip side of this too is the very people they say are their constituents that they're most concerned about, they're being harmed. They're harming them. They're harming those people.
Yes,
just as they do in K through 12 education and so forth. But the example is these universities that are mandating vaccinations when they become available, but exempting students of color, brown and black students, because of historical mistreatment of brown and black people in this country. And so, they're right to be skeptical of the vaccine because of the Tuskegee experiments. So the mandate doesn't apply to them. So now you're actually preventing people maybe from getting a vaccine that they want in the timely fashion that they could otherwise get it.
Exactly. And it wasn't always like this. I'm old enough to remember when polio was a scourge. And when I was a young boy, I was I received the Salk vaccine, the first polio shot. I remember my parents being scared every summer as the polio season came around, and I was really scared about the iron lungs. But they were able to do a massive vaccine distribution without any of this kind of political correctness and back and forth. They did it based on proper rational triage. That seems to be what we've lost in this era of woke. Woke is destroying common sense, and it's something that people should not put up with.
He is Wesley Smith, author and senior fellow at the Discovery Institute Center on Human Exceptionalism. Wesley, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and try to stay warm out there.
There you go. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Start Smiling Dental Implant Centers and Dr. Paul Petrangaro want to give you something to smile about this year.
Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Petrangaro. If you're looking to replace your failing teeth in a true long-term customized solution for tooth replacement, we are Chicagoland's one and only destination for dental implants done the right way. Whether it's for a single tooth, multiple teeth, or a full mouth reconstruction, we go over the top with personalized service. You'll meet directly with me at your complimentary consultation, and we will develop a plan that fits your specific needs, not a cookie-cutter approach. Visit StartSmilingChicago.com to learn about our advanced techniques and procedures, including offering metal-free dental implant options, zygomatic implants for upper bone loss, and how to get your final teeth within 48 hours. That's right, 48 hours, not months. Our procedures are less invasive and in most cases less expensive than traditional dental options.
To regain your smile and for a complimentary consultation, visit StartSmilingChicago.com. Also, check out their online reviews, offices in Northfield and Lamont. StartSmilingChicago.com.
When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2 on AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits